Hello, hello. Dr. Toni Coaches. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back. I'm always so glad and so appreciative to have you all here to virtually connect. Today, we're going to talk about how to manage chaos when things are going haywire. Like, how do we manage to feel calm? How do we manage to gain clarity? How do we manage to get through it without completely losing ourselves or getting too mired down by stress when things are chaotic around us? And it's very opportune conversation to have. Actually, I've been having this conversation a lot this year, so it's very relevant given that I'm recording this at the end of 2020. And so even if it's not the end of 2020 when you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you're watching it, it's still applicable to life, right? Because we're going to have chaos in life. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be stress. The goal isn't to completely eliminate any potential stress at all from our life ever. There's going to be stress here and there. But what we don't want is we don't want an overreactive, completely stressful experience to take over our life, right? Most people, they want to feel in control of their lives, yet the harder they push and pull and extend themselves, the more out of control they wind up feeling. Maybe you can relate if you're here. I know I can relate to that. I've definitely been there before, and it's pretty annoying, right? You're like, why do I feel so out of control? I'm doing everything I can. I've so felt that way. And most people that come to me, they're in some state of feeling that way or navigating that in some way. That definitely was my experience years ago when I was in burnout and I was totally in denial about being there. But thankfully, I'm not there anymore. And that's why people tend to come to me. That's why people tend to come see me because they want to not be there anymore, too. They're done feeling whipped around by life, by stress, by conditions, by chaos. And so, how do we manage all this? How do we manage to do this, especially when things are going haywire around us? What do we do? How do we manage that? That's what we're going to talk about today. Because as professionals or parents or adults with responsibilities and citizens of a community that we want to uplift, all of the above, how can we experience a sense of calm and clarity amidst the chaos of the life demands and roles and responsibilities that we feel pressure to fulfill all of the time? How do we do that? Well, the truth is, most of us have been going about doing this backwards. Most of us have been going about tending to the stress and the roles and responsibilities in a backwards way. And it's not your fault. It's what we're told. It's how we're conditioned. And that's fine. That's the way things are. And so you're here because you want to do something about it. All right. The more out of control we feel, the more we tend to try to control these kind of outward circumstances, these things that are happening outside of us. And at the most of the time, we don't actually have direct control over all of those circumstances. But now we feel even more out of control, right? Because we've tried to control circumstances that are outside of our control, which has led us to feel more out of control. And that cycle it's so vicious. You can easily get sucked into it and feel more and more frustrated and just want things to be the way they should be, right? And so we are actually much less equipped to navigate life stressors when we're in this state of feeling out of control. We're in this stressed out state. Yet we tend in those moments to grasp for more control. And as we do so, we just feel more and more out of control. This is kind of that cycle that so many people get stuck in and get frustrated by. That chaos and the uncertainty, it stimulates the stress response in our bodies. And when our brain and our body go into that stress mode, the defense mechanisms that we're most used to using, they go into high gear. They get really kick-started and they're ready to ramp up, right? And so we might start to isolate ourselves. We might start to explode. We might start to take on too much action. We might not take enough action. We rely on these healthy methods to distract from the pain or the fear or the stress, like buying every shiny object that will make us feel better or we think will fix the issue, or drinking more or eating more. It's different for each of us, but these are some very common ones. We find ourselves in this reactive state, right? Many people don't realize that when they're in this reactive state, or maybe they realize it too late after they've already made a decision that they're not proud of. And so they're not really able to do something about it in any effective, meaningful way because they're not realizing it in time. And that's okay. We all find ourselves in a reactive state at one time or another. I'm not trying to make that wrong or bad. We do all mess up. Sometimes none of us are perfect. I'm certainly far from it. However, the less time we stay in that reactive state, the less out of control we can feel. And then the more aware we are of what that reactive state looks like for us. And so the more equipped we can become to intentionally address or prevent too much of that reactivity, too much of that stress from taking over. This awareness is critical, and yet it is the step that most high-performing people especially just want to skip over. They're like, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do and I'll do it so that this is done and over with. It does not work that way. It does not work that way. I know. I wished it did too when I was in that place, but it doesn't work that way. There are many ways to increase your awareness about your stress mood, and that awareness is important. So we cannot skip that awareness step. You can intentionally, for example, take note of what you think and feel when you feel stressed. That's going to raise your awareness. You can identify certain patterns that cause you the most stress throughout your life and get curious about what's supercharging them, what's supercharging that reaction, what is that reaction like. That's another way. You can even use one of the free assessment tools that I offer. I'll put the links below. You can find the stress less assessment. It's free. That's in the link. And then there's a clarity assessment. Both of those are going to help raise your awareness. Now, once you've increased your awareness, you'll have a better idea of what's triggering the stress reactions, as well as what it feels like when those stress reactions are coming up. Okay, and that's so important because it gives you kind of a leg to stand on, a baseline, a foundation to work from. This is important to be aware of. It gives you more of an idea about where you need to intervene, how, and why. We need that information, okay? Addressing the stress overload and the reactivity is important because the brain and the body, they're in stress mode. And when they're in stress mode, whether we realize it or not, it can impact our immunity. So it can actually reduce our immunity. We have less patience and we're more easily irritated. It exacerbates anxiety and depressive symptoms. It makes it hard to think and to see straight. And so, of course, the easiest way that we could say to deal with all the stress cycle is to just catch it early. Catch it early on in the cycle. But sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't. If you're not aware of the cycle, you certainly can't catch it, right? And so the answers to your work, your relationship, your overall life stressors and challenges, they all come more readily to you when you are in a calmer state of mind, which means we need to be aware of the stress cycle so we can tend to it. When your brain isn't in stress mode, that's where you're able to connect with the answers and the problem solving and the creativity more. To raise awareness, as well as to adequately address challenges. Either way, we need to commit to taking some time for ourselves. This is not just going to happen magically just because you listen to one video or read one article. It's not just going to happen magically for you. It is a process. It does take intention. But when we are able to slow down, commit some time to ourselves, navigate inward, despite the chaos that's happening outside of us, our brain and our bodies, they thank us. They can more readily access what they need to in order for us to enhance the creativity, to optimize our performance, to gain clarity in our decision making and our problem solving, to communicate better, to regulate our emotions better. All of this is connected. Not just me saying it, research supports it, okay? This does take practice. It is not something you say, just tell me to do this, and then you do it, and then it's done. It takes practice. And it's also why outside support, like a coach or a therapist, is often so incredibly impactful. That added accountability can be so helpful, because when you want to throw the towel in, you have that person there that knows the process and is there to help guide you, move you forward, and remind you why all of this was important to you in the first place, why you committed to, why you wanted all of this shift in the first place. So there are both practical things that you can do, and there's powerful shifts that you can make to better manage during times of chaos. Most people try to do one or the other, but it's really important to have a balance of both practical steps and powerful tools to aid you along the way. All right, practical steps and processes, these are things that you can do. Okay, so they're actions that you can take, which is what most people just want to go straight to. These are things many people hear about, like yoga or exercise or healthy eating and meditation. These are all wonderful. They're all wonderful things to do, but there are plenty of people that are doing all of those things and still feel mired down by stress and reactivity. Why? Because the emotional part, the mental part's not being tended to as targeted and as intentionally as it needs to, okay? So because those practical steps, the actions that you can take, they need to be accompanied by the powerful in order for their effects to be enhanced. And when I say powerful, I am talking about practices that you do internally and for the experience of them, not just to get them done, not just to mark them off a list or say that they've been done to get to the outcome that you want. These are not just things you do just to get done. Powerful tools are about mindset you have before, during, and after you engage with the practical steps and processes. Consistently and intentionally practicing connecting with experiences like appreciation, for example, is one powerful tool that's often used and is effective if you use it appropriately. It's one powerful mindset shift that when practiced regularly, it does enhance the power of the other practical tools that you're trying to put into place. Practical steps will only take you as far as they can until they kind of come to a standstill or you feel like you hit a wall. They're only as effective as the powerful tools that they are accompanied by. That's why there are plenty of people who do yoga and do meditation who are still struggling with chronic stress, or who work out all the time but are still struggling with chronic stress. They do it for the outcome and not to actually enjoy the process, or they don't have each of the components. Like maybe they only have the physical, but they don't have the mental and emotional, or vice versa. When you enjoy the process and connect with the other powerful tools that allow you to really experience and connect with your emotions, with the practical processes, and intentionally done, then all of that together creates this incredibly impactful experience that helps not just raise the awareness of the stress, but actually manage the stress better. And so, in conclusion, the best way to navigate towards calm and clarity while amidst chaos is to become first more aware of the stress patterns and your reaction to them, and then to get clear on why you want them to change, why that matters to you, and then intentionally intervene in your stress cycle using both practical and powerful methods. Okay, so tapping into a coach or a therapist who can provide effective accountability and support is often incredibly helpful, and it increases the likelihood of the positive change and sustainable change so significantly. It's just off the charts, the difference. So if any of this connects with you, you absolutely can manage the chaos even when things are chaotic outside of you. You can gain clarity. You can tap in to that kind of internal peaceful part of you. It is possible. Just remember, it's not just about what you do. All right, you need the practical and the powerful, and oftentimes you need the accountability to go along with it. So if you found this helpful, go ahead, click like, subscribe, put a comment below. I appreciate your time and your being here today, and I will see you or connect with you virtually, connect with you next time.